in light of the flooding that happened over the weekend in the Hill Country and some of the discourse around Camp Mystic in particular, I just want to give you a warning. We're going to talk about this for about 10 minutes. I want to address this because it's important to me, and it's sports adjacent. It's not totally foreign to what we talk about here on the Pete Souza Show. I want to talk about camp. I want to start today by talking about the importance of camp, why it is such a good thing for young people to experience. Because unfortunately, in light of the tragedy this week, I feel like there has been, from some spaces and some circles in some parts of the country, questions about the merits of what was going on at Camp Mystic and the dozens, if not hundreds, of camps very much like it all around the state of Texas and all across America. And so if you're not from Texas, if you're not familiar with why kids go to summer camp, or maybe just all of this is foreign to you, I would love to tell you really quickly why it is so important we support Camp Mystic, camps like it, and continue to endorse them and be for them, even though this last weekend what happened there was certainly tragic, and I'm sure there will be policy changes and things implemented to prevent something like that from ever happening again. But I want to tell you really quickly 3 things about camp and why it's so important. First of all, when the news came out Friday about Camp Mystic, I was devastated. I have a 1-year-old daughter. I'm still a pretty young father, and so the thought of, if my daughter were 6, 7 years older and one of those campers, the grief and the horror that would befall my family would just be unbearable. And so I relate to those families in that way. But more than that, I have a background with camp. I grew up going to camp. I was a camp counselor at a camp here in Texas, not too dissimilar from Camp Mystic. I spent some years working in religious spaces where I took children and teenagers to camps like this and endorsed them and supported them and was part of them. And so I'm very intimately familiar with these sorts of camps, and I want to advocate for them quickly, and I hope that maybe you will find it to support them and advocate for them yourself amidst some of the discourse that's happening right now. First of all, camps are crucial for developing children and teenagers into adults, and I think they're crucial in 3 ways. So I want to tell you 3 ways that I think camps are absolutely critical for young people, and maybe even, might I say, more important than they've ever been before in 2025, more important than they were even in 1925. So 3 things that make camps crucial for children and teenagers. First of all is fun. Camp is fun. And camp is fun in a way that increasingly butts up against and actually goes against the grain of society and the things that suck, I would say suck fun from us. So the most blatant example I can think of is when you go to camp as a kid, and even lots of times as a counselor, you are asked to put your devices away. In most cases, children and teenagers aren't allowed to have devices at camp. Phones, laptops, iPads. You're not allowed to have them. I think that is more important than ever in the culture we live in, that the instant gratification, the dopamine hit that comes from when we scroll through one of these isn't what we're actually living for or pursuing in this life. Camp, rather, teaches us to connect with nature and to have fun by hanging out with peers, being outside, maybe trying something you've never tried before, whether that's swimming or ropes or biking or climbing or volleyball, right? Like whatever it is you do at camp, it's often your first exposure to a new way of exploring yourself and having fun that you don't always get at home. Every year I got to be a part of camps and being around teenagers at camps. I would ask them at the end of the experience, did you miss your phone? And every single time I got the same answer, which was like, yeah, I mean, like the first day, yeah, you take that away for a little while. You don't know what to do with yourself. But once you get into days 2 and 3 and 4 of camp, you don't miss your phone at all. You realize how much bigger the world is, how much more beautiful people are when they're sitting in front of you, not behind a screen. Camp is critical for this. It's so important. It teaches children and teenagers how to have fun and disconnect from their devices and connect to the world around them, nature, and if you believe in God, right, around them. It's so critical. So fun. The second way camp is crucial, in my mind, is the community you build at camp. The community. That comes in 2 ways. One, it comes with your peers, right? It is really remarkable that in an age where we are more isolated than ever, depression and anxiety are often cited as being higher than ever. It is more difficult than ever, perhaps, to find where you belong. Camp is a place where kids and teenagers find belonging. They find new friendships, or they have a dear friend or a brother or sister they go to camp with who they grow in deeper relationship with. That is one of the magical things about camp. I will tell you, I texted one of my very best friends from Baylor. We were texting about this yesterday, texting about Camp Mystic, and he was talking about, he said, when I was in high school, camp was the one place I felt like I fit in. I didn't feel like I fit in at school or on the sports team or even at my church, but when I went to camp, I felt like I fit in. And what's remarkable about him saying that to me is that was exactly my experience in high school as well. Camp week was the one week I felt like I could be myself. I felt like I could be loud and goofy and outdoorsy and do the things I love. I could play basketball. I could go swim. I could hike. That builds a sense of community and camaraderie with your peers that you don't get anywhere else. So the community with your peers, but also the community, what camp teaches you is that it's okay to ask for help from someone who's a few steps ahead of you. And it's actually probably really wise, no matter what stage of life you're in, to have a mentor. Part of the magic of camp for me was connecting with my counselors or my senior counselors or even older students at the camp who could invest back down into me. When I would take groups to camp, I would always challenge juniors and seniors in high school to care for middle schoolers, because you're teaching A, people to be leaders, but B, more importantly, you're teaching children and teenagers that it's okay to ask for help and it's okay to seek guidance from someone who's just a few steps ahead of you down the road. I will tell you, perhaps at the risk of oversharing, I don't think he would mind, Pete has become one of those people for me in my life currently. I have been willing to ask Pete for questions and help about life stuff and career stuff and relationship stuff, in large part because I was taught at a young age through camp that it's okay to look up to people who you want to be like. And it's okay to ask them for help. And most of the time, if you are looking up to the right people, they are more than willing to invest back into you. So camp is fun. Camp builds a sense of community, unlike anything else in our society. And then 3, and perhaps the most important, and it's what this title up here references, camp cultivates a sense of faith. And I want you to stick with me because I'm not just talking about religion, okay? Yes, Camp Mystic was a religious camp. The camp I attended and most of them I've been involved with were religious. So that is certainly part of it. And if you are someone who is a person of faith, I hope camp is a part of your rhythm too. But all kinds of camp develop faith in all sorts of things. So camp not only develops faith in a higher power perhaps, but it also develops a faith in yourself. Right? Whether it's Camp Mystic, whether it's a church camp, whether it's Boy Scouts camp, you are learning to be capable within yourself. Something all of these camps do so well is challenge you to try new things, to experience new things. Eat some food that you don't always eat at home, that you don't know if it'll taste any good. Bike. I've never ridden a bike before. Man, let's figure out if you can ride a bike. Teach you how to be outside. Maybe teach you how to lead, right? How to serve. Camp teaches you how to have faith in yourself, to be more confident. Again, my best friend from Baylor and I had this similar experience of, we felt like school was not a place we were very confident in ourselves, but camp was. Teaches you that you are worthy and good and capable. If you go to Boy Scout camp, you're learning these critical skills and you're getting these badges. You're learning that you can perform and have value and learn things. Be a lifelong learner. It develops faith in yourself. As I already said, it develops faith in a community. It develops faith in humanity, faith in the world. What's painfully ironic, and I mean that painfully, like it hurts me, about the Camp Mystic story, is that those girls were learning these things. They were learning to have faith in themselves, learning to have faith in their community, learning to have faith in humanity. And man, it is true that in tragedy we see the very best of humanity show up as, thank the Lord, there are way more stories of rescue and help than tragedy, even amidst this tragic situation in Central Texas. But I just felt it important to share, while I have the microphone, my experience. Camp is crucial. And so as we navigate discussions about warning systems and how to prevent tragedy like this from happening again, and how we can all do better to make sure that natural disasters don't end life needlessly, let's not target camp, and let's not target Camp Mystic. Because here's the other thing I can tell you about camp. Every single one of those counselors and every single one of those camp directors or anyone in a position of leadership did everything they could to keep kids safe. Of that, I have no doubt, because I've been there, I've worked it, I've lived it, I've attended it, I've breathed it. These are some of the best people in the world teaching kids these lessons about fun, about community, and about faith, and how to be yourself. And we need to give them our full support. I'm praying for all of these families, but I'm also praying that Camp Mystic is able to recover from this and continue doing the good work of teaching teenagers and students how to be the best versions of themselves, as they've done for 100 years. That's really important to me.